moving on to our next speaker, we have Leanne from Edmond Public Schools.
Hi, so like you said, I'm Leanne Mendenhall, and I teach 6th through 8th grade computer science classes in Edmond. And one session that I chose to go to this summer was Beyond the Flyer, Actionable Ways to Recruit for Your CS Program. And this was by Jen Manley. I was really interested in going to this session because something that I've noticed in my classes since I started teaching computer science was the lack of girls. So most of my classes will be very heavily weighed to men, and typically I would only have 1 or 2 girls in my classes. So recruitment, that's been a focus for me, trying to get more girls in my classes. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. I have some information about Jen. She posts on social media regularly, and so I wanted to make sure I had that in there for you if you want to go back and follow her. So she started out with the why, and this is something that I think a lot of teachers might think about. My classes are full, so why do I need to recruit? And she had some other common myths that we're going to talk about with this as well. And so I wanted to look at some of those other myths. I think there are some that we can all relate to. If you want to go to the next slide. So if students wanted to be in my class, they'd be there, right? They'd find me. If I recruit other students, it might take a spot away from students who really want to be here. So like in my case, if I'm just focused on recruiting girls, it might take a spot away from a young gentleman that wants to be there. Or my classes are just full and I don't need to recruit. So what's the purpose behind recruiting if our classes are full? And so we want to replace those with some better things. There are going to be students in your school, I guess unless maybe you teach elementary, but there's probably students in your school that don't know that CS is an option for them and that they would be a great fit for it. We also know that the earlier a student takes CS class, the more likely they are to pursue it as a career later on. So we want to catch them early. And if our program lacks diversity, but it's full, it matters that there are groups there that aren't being represented. And this hit me like a ton of bricks. So even though my main focus was girls, because I'm like, where are all the girls at in my class? My class also lacked a lot of diversity on the male side as well. My classes are heavily weighted towards the white, Asian, or Indian male population. And that's not reflective of my overall school population. So this was like big shining lights to me that there was a problem. So we all probably need to recruit, right? Even if our classes are full or if we're struggling to fill our CS courses. If your course doesn't reflect your student population of your school, that's a reason to recruit. So not just, certain populations, virgins, ELLs, making sure that we have every population represented in our classes. And if our classes are jam-packed, that's just a reason to add another course, right? So for high school teachers, that might be an incentive. And even at the middle school level for me, that might be, a big shining light to the principal or other, admin in my school district that we need maybe 2 computer science teachers instead of just 1. So we're going to look at what recruiting is. So we have active versus passive that we're going to look at. And I realized that I was doing a lot of passive recruiting, even whenever I was really focused on getting more girls in my classes. Most of what I was doing was passive. So one thing that I did was I tried to start a Girls Who Code club after school. But the only thing I did was hang flyers up around the school, letting girls know that there was going to be a club. And I spoke to just the girls, the lack of girls that were in my classes, right? It was mostly boys. And I was saying, hey, here's this new club, Girls Who Code. And so passive recruiting is hanging flyers, It's just saying, kids who want to take computer science are going to see it on the enrollment packet and they're going to sign up for it. And so rather than passive recruiting, we want to look at active recruiting. And so active recruiting, it takes into account that students are going to take your class for different reasons. Maybe their parent is involved in computer science in some way and wants them to get in that pathway themselves. Maybe a friend is in the class and so they want to join just because their buddy's in there. It assumes that kids who would love CS needs to be exposed to it as an option. So we want to find those students that would thrive in our classes. Maybe they aren't, the best academically in reading or foreign language, but they can come into our computer science classroom and really thrive. It can be a purpose and a motivation for them to come to school. And we want to prioritize authentic connections, so those relationships that we all have with our students, as a foundation to recruitment. And there's 3 types of students that she talked about. So you have your always joiners, the ones who know they like CS and they're going to take it every year. I know for me, right now in my 8th grade class, I have a lot of students that I've seen since 6th grade. They've taken all of my computer science courses, so that's been really fun. They're my always joiners. And then I have my maybe joiners. And so this is going to be like a young lady I have in 8th grade this year, who I spoke to her mom when she was in my 7th grade class and just said, man, she is doing so well. She has the right answer the first time. She's just flying through the material. I'm challenging her and she's meeting every challenge. But she didn't personally feel like she fit in. She kind of had that imposter syndrome, just like Barbie was talking about. The student wasn't really confident in her abilities, but I think talking to mom and encouraging mom to make sure that she signed up for the next year helped Gigi to see that me as a teacher knew she did well in my class. And so she kind of fell into that maybe joiner area for me. And then we have never joiners who just know that they do not want to take a CS class. So these are our 3 categories of students that we're going to focus on with recruitment, specifically our maybe joiners, right? Those are the low-hanging fruit that we can get to join our CS classes. So I'd love to know if you've taken a CS course back in middle, high school, college. Why did you take that first CS course? And if you haven't, maybe tell me why you haven't taken a CS course. And while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and we can move on to the next slide. Didn't know it was for you. Awesome. So if we all have different reasons for taking CS, then we want to market to all of those different types of students, right? So we're going to look at the how. So how do we actually do this? And I want to let you know that she has a toolkit that's going to give you examples of all of these things and resources that you can use as well, which I loved as a teacher. So there's 4 different strategies, and we'll go into the first one. The first one, and you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you. Is to go to the students. So maybe do presentations. I thought at lunch might be a good time, or I loved the short video because right now with COVID, I know going in and out of other classrooms may not be an option, but try to get into as many classrooms as you can so you're exposed to as many students as possible. And then make sure the students know that they have a chance to meet with you one-on-one as well. This one is one I'm really going to focus on this year, working with counselors. I don't think our counselors have any idea what I do in my classroom. And she actually has an example of this sheet that's in the picture there that outlines, you can put each of your classes, what they'll learn, prerequisites. I think this is a great option. And then you can also utilize the other teachers in your building. And this was another light bulb moment for me. So especially my 6th grade teachers, 6th grade is the first year at my school. So asking those teachers, who do you think would be a good fit for my classes? And making sure that they know what I teach and what kind of activities we do in class as well. And then the last one is to go to your feeder schools. So go to the elementary or middle school level and actually visit those classrooms. I know our elementary classes have CS that they go to as a rotation. So if you have time, either make a video or try to go visit one of those classes, I think is a great idea as well. And then so at the end, I just thought I would ask, sorry, I went through that kind of fast, but I thought I would ask which one of these recruiting tools you think would be best to meet your needs at your specific school. So if you want to leave that in the chat, that would be great. And the final thought is just the more students we talk to, the more students that we are going to be able to have in our classes, right? So just want to get out there and talk to them. And then the toolkit is linked here with all of those resources that will help you with the different strategies.